Hello, everyone, and welcome to NWR TV. I'm John Reardon, and I am joined by Neal Ronahan.
Hello, hello.
And we are going to talk about the much-anticipated Metroid 5, also known as Metroid Dread. Neal?
It's no longer a myth.
This is happening. Yeah.
So last year I did a lot of research into what the future of Metroid would be, and I think I recall speculating something about like Sakamoto could do a sequel to Fusion or something, or another remake. And I mentioned that Metroid Dread was a thing, and I kind of looked into it, and I didn't think it would actually happen. But
it's crazy that not only are we getting Metroid 5, but it's the Metroid 5 from like 15 years ago.
Yeah, and they did have Nintendo had a really cool video of the 2D Metroid series producer Yoshio Sakamoto talking about kind of the history of the development of this game, and he referenced two separate times that Metroid Dread almost got made. It was right after Zero Mission, I assume. He said about 15 years ago, presumably for the DS, and that they just didn't have the technology for it, so they didn't go about it. And then there was another chance, but they just didn't think they could really do it justice. And I theorized that might have been after Other M.
I was thinking either after Other M, or that was literally what Other M was. Like, yeah, because they went in and they were like, can we do Dread? No, we'll do Other M instead.
Yeah, because I think there were some of the quotes around it was just that, like, this isn't it, Other M isn't Dread, I think was some of the quotes from Sakamoto. And they did kind of mirror his quotes around Samus Returns. Although at that point, Dread was like so long gone that it didn't seem like, oh, this was cutting into it. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe working with Team Ninja on Other M, and maybe some of the feedback to that any hopes of making Metroid Dread with Team Ninja kind of went out the window. Which, it's kind of a shame in the grand scheme of things, because we didn't get Metroid for a long time. But I think that probably this version of Dread might be the optimal version of Dread, because from hearing Sakamoto talk about it, it seemed like he had this concept of Samus being like hunted down throughout the entire game, and it seems like it might just been they couldn't get the AI to work that they wanted to,
and that makes sense,
the DS or the Wii.
Yeah, and that, clearly that is the thing. That's been my... So, I think I first heard about Metroid Dread from you, and my thinking all of this time has been like, what was the thing you were dreading? Like, it's such an interesting title that like begs a question, and so it's cool to be like, oh, it's that. All right, that's the thing that we're gonna dread. But yeah, let's
these freaky like robots that run around like panthers.
Yes.
And then just murder you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw a lot of people comparing it to, well, I think even in the reaction stream, I heard people comparing it to the modern Resident Evil games.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be like, yeah, but he thought about it 15 years ago.
Yeah.
He just didn't do it.
It's also like it is similar to SAX and Fusion, but all that stuff in Fusion was extremely scripted, whereas this seems way more organic, because they showed it in the Treehouse Live demos a lot. That is basically, there are different zones that are patrolled by an Emmy, and I think like the first one, they almost function like Guardians in Breath of the Wild, which actually, thinking about that comparison is very funny to me. But they patrol these different areas, and it seems like the first one you come across is like already weakened, much like how the first Guardian that you're likely to see in Breath of the Wild can't move.
Yeah.
But then as you go through, like, you'll have ones that like they'll find you and they will hunt you down, and there's different ways, like, there's like full alert where they're like hunting for you, and you need to basically fool them or get out of there. And there's other ones where it's like you can go in, you do get this thing called the Phantom Cloak, which they show off in the trailer, and they also show off in Treehouse Live, where like Samus can turn invisible, so that like you can basically go undetected, but if you make a noise and like shoot an enemy and around it, it'll see that and then kind of look for you, and it could corner you or something like that. It seems really cool, and it seems really terrifying, and it's just a different tweak on the Metroid formula, where this one is I mean, thinking about comparing it to the previous released 2D Metroid, which is Samus Returns, which is one where Samus is going through and just committing genocide.
Oh yeah,
this is
that is the plot of the game.
This is a Metroid game where Samus is trying to avoid being murdered.
Right.
It is a much different look and feel.
The hunter has become the prey.
Yes, that's why she's dreading it.
Yeah.
But thinking about what this game could be, as Sakamoto also said, this is the end of this 5-game 2D Metroid saga. So I did a little bit kind of refreshing my memory of both the hidden ending for Samus Returns. So if you haven't finished Samus Returns and you don't know what's in like the secret 100% ending, maybe skip ahead or skip the rest of this video, because we're talking about a game that follows up on it and might have some ties to what happens at the end of that game. And also Metroid Fusion. Metroid Fusion is the game that will directly precede this. So Samus Returns has that 100% ending where it has like there's the 2 Chozo guys, and they wind up like basically having a war over. So there's the X Parasite that they basically bring to SR388, and then that X Parasite they wind up making the Metroid to kind of basically eradicate the X Parasite. And then the Metroid become too strong and it kills a lot of the Chozo, and the Chozo are kind of arguing this out, and there is assumedly one Chozo guy who murders another Chozo guy and then has gone evil and has an army. My theory with what Metroid Dread is going to be is I think this is like your final boss is going to be like this Chozo mastermind and maybe some sort of Ridley or Mother Brain like cohort working with them.
You do briefly catch a glimpse of a Chozo in this trailer.
I know I've seen it. I think I remember. So you probably called it out. Oh yeah. There's a moment where I just thought that was Samus. From
with her talon arm. Yeah.
I mean, it's just not thinking about it, but yeah, like that looks like it's a Chozo.
He appears to be talking, and he sure looks like he's like running the facility.
Yeah. No, I mean that is definitely a Chozo, and so that if you go back to the thing that like Samus has her hand on, they talked about that in the Treehouse Live, that's like some kind of like seemingly even like Mother Brain inspired unit that like Samus can get energy from.
Oh.
But like I don't think that's necessarily malevolent. It's something that was already on the planet.
Yeah.
There's some other things. If you go back, there's like a weird like long statue that I know I saw it in the trailer.
This thing? Yeah.
So at the end of the Treehouse Live demo, the second one, they get to this room and say, that's an ominous statue. We're going to leave it here and let you explore that for yourself. So I don't know totally what that statue is supposed to represent. It does look, it's hard to like kind of tell what it is. I mean, is that even like a Chozo face down?
I don't think so.
I mean,
it's not a beak. It's like a...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... I don't know what that is.
But it looks like it's some sort of statue of a creature.
Is it one of the early forms of Ridley?
Is it Kraid?
Could be Kraid.
Actually, that was at first a joke, but that could actually be.
Does Kraid have horns? I don't remember if Kraid has horns. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the morph ball usage. There was some, they didn't show that in any of the playable demos, but you can get the morph ball.
Yes.
It's probably that's probably the area right after what they showed, so you probably get the morph ball to go through that area. But yeah, I do think, because another thing that was called out in Treehouse Live is that you are starting inside this planet that Samus has never been before. That's called out in the marketing, that like this is a place that Samus has never been before. So that stands to reason. How the hell did you get to the center of this planet?
Right.
Like that's, I mean, there's going to be something that happens in the beginning of the game, some inciting incident that's going to get you there. I don't really know what it is. When last we left Samus in this timeline, she had a bunch of creatures helping her get off the ship from Metroid Fusion.
Yeah.
And she was recovering from, being spliced with the Metroid, which assumedly she's still in that kind of shape.
Well, and that kind of, I mean, her suit in this has there's tendons running all over it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, because I'm trying to, at the end of Fusion, did she return to normal appearance?
I don't think it was totally normal. It's been a while since I've replayed Fusion.
Yeah.
And I kind of just glanced at what was the last moment in Fusion, because that's what we're gonna have in this. I have a feeling this might not lead directly from Fusion into Dread. I guess it very well could, but my guess is maybe there's some amount of time passage. I mean,
clearly this is an entirely new suit. I do like that, they're not afraid to just say, no, the orange suit is gone.
Yeah.
That was gone after after the beginning of Fusion.
Yeah.
And now she just has a different suit.
Yeah. And I don't know how she's going to get into the center of this planet. And I think it's going to be tied in to the Chozo, because I think that the Chozo or at least that rogue Chozo is going to be the big bad for the entire saga in a way.
Yeah.
Unless Mother Brain comes back in some kind of Emperor Palpatine manner.
Somehow, Mother Brain survived.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Adam Malkovich, who is the AI in Fusion, and you find out in Other M is her former commander. He's in this, kind of giving you it's lore dump and some hints in the gameplay and stuff like that.
It sounds like the same role as Fusion.
Yeah,
because her computer in Fusion was named Adam as well.
Yeah. It seems like it's that, where it's her ship's AI or whatever.
Yeah.
But one of the people in Treehouse Live specified that, don't worry, you can go wherever you want. He's not going to order you where to go.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very funny, because that was a big complaint of Other M.
Yeah. Though I did always find it more believable to be ordered not to use super bombs than finding super bombs in an ancient temple. But that was just me.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the Chozo is going to be the big bad here. That's my guess, and yeah, we'll probably see some familiar enemies along the way. What is a Metroid game without some form of Ridley?
Yeah.
But I'm extremely excited for this.
Me too, and I'm hearing Sakamoto talk about it as as his ending for his Metroid arc, which is, I mean, his arc starts with the first Metroid.
Yeah.
I'm glad that, I don't know if that was always his intention for this game, but if it was, then I'm really glad he's getting to make it.
Because if you also think about it, it's it took him 19 years to make this game. It took him, 16 years to make the other 4 games?
Every other game in the... Yeah.
I mean, he's made other 2D... Well, I guess Other M is sadly getting erased in this timeline. Yeah. Which, not a terrible thing. I don't
it still
hate
fits
Other
in
M.
there.
I think that
our
video from Jonathan Metz that you should check out really does a good job of summing up Other M. But it is just wild also thinking about how those 5 games in the saga, they're all radically different. I guess maybe Metroid and Super Metroid are pretty similar in style.
In theory, yeah. Metroid, Super Metroid, and Zero Mission. What original Metroid should be.
That's what Super Metroid kind of feels like. Okay, we're gonna make that NES game and make it better. But you think about how Metroid 2 is a game where you're committing genocide. Fusion just has that the more linear guided aspect where Samus is weakened and has that hunched over sprite that looks so good on the GBA. And Dread, which seems to be taking it into a different direction with how you're being pursued in a different way than ever before. It's really cool to see a series that, even if it's been more stagnant than we would have liked over the years, really kind of stay nimble.
It's also just cool to see an HD Metroid.
Yeah, this is our
we haven't
first
even mentioned
HD
that
Metroid.
yet. But I mean,
don't erase Nintendo Land.
That's fair. All right, an HD mainline Metroid. But yeah, just seeing it made like I'm so excited for Prime because like I want to like I want to explore HD, more terrifying Metroid worlds. And this looks great.
I feel like seeing Dread in action, and being a little reticent of like, Mercury Steam probably doing another 2D Metroid. Like, okay, Samus Return looked good for a 3DS game, but I saw that HD port that they did of Mirror of Fate, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but it seems like they really, like this art looks great. It kind of reminds me of like that ideal of like when like Shadow Complex and stuff came out, and you're like, why can't they just make a Metroid like this? It's like, well, they finally are.
Yeah, no, this looks like it has some budget behind it. I mean, and granted, I think when you're doing a 2.5D game, your camera is very restricted, so you can really do a lot, just because you know exactly where the camera's going to be all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks good. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about it right now. I can start talking more about how you got like the spider magnet thing. It looks like there's some new power-ups and abilities, which that was one of the things in Samus Returns that stood out to me. I know it was a remake, but like there wasn't really a lot of like new additions on top of that as far as like what tools you had.
Sure. Looks
like we might get that here. I'm extremely excited for this to come out in less than 4 months.
There was a great comment on our Metroid Dread video that we posted earlier today, where someone said that 2 new 2D Metroid games have come out between the time that Metroid Prime 4 was announced and its first trailer. which is incredible.
Yeah, because we're not going to see
I
Metroid
thought we were
Prime
done
4
with 2D Metroids
until after Dread comes out. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and this is October. This isn't even that far away.
Yeah.
This is great. But yeah, I think that's about all we got. So thank you very much for watching. Neal, thank you for joining me. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to Nintendo World Report TV. Join us to chat about it on our Discord using the link in the description. And check out NintendoWorldReport.com for a whole lot more. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Did you know that Nintendo World Report is funded directly by fans like you? When you support Nintendo World Report on Patreon, you get immediate access to multiple exclusive podcasts every month, exclusive Discord channels, an early look at select content, and more, all for as little as $1 a month. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.